was gonna wear this, but it's a bit small. It's for my husband. He has a normal sized head. I don't. Oh. I'm gonna try something else. I've just got to try and fit it over my headscarf thing that I've got going on. I'm gonna try something. Okay. Oops. Because, you know, you can't be a witch or a practitioner of magic or an occultist or whatever unless you're goth, a Satanist, heavy metal head, which 2 of those I am. But, and unless you look the part, right? Because it's all about aesthetics and like attracting certain things to yourself, but you need like the aesthetics and you need the numbers and the views and the clout and all the rest of it, which apparently that's what makes you a witch. Sorry, ignore the noises in the back. It's my husband. He's playing like various videos and stuff on his phone. What else? What else? I don't have a wand with me. I guess I can just use this as a wand. And this. And this. These are just quartzes. Oh my gosh. Favorite babies here. Some other crystals. Maybe these ones aren't authentic enough. Maybe I should just use some of the ones I use for chakra balancing and alignment instead. I don't know where I would hang this though. I hope you're sort of slowly starting to see the point I'm trying to make. This is going to be so uncomfortable. Because again, the more stuff you have, I think it's on. The more stuff you have, the more authentic a witch you are. But then at the same time, you're also preaching in the same breath that you're also really Buddhist and you love all things to do with Buddhism and like things are just non-dual and there's like impermanence and whatever. Yeah, no, that's not how this stuff works. Okay, this is the point I'm going to make because this is all just unnecessary at this point. I came across a video on Instagram from a good friend of mine. And I've noticed a lot of these videos of hers and I've held my tongue for the longest time. And it's gotten to the point where at first I was worried and then I was petrified. At first I was worried and then after a while I started seeing the same pattern. And it's this notion that you can't be a blank unless you prove that you can do all of blank, blank, blank. When it comes to magic, that is not the case at all. I remember some years ago, there was a small conversation between various people who practiced any like different forms of paganism, witchcraft, the religious or the spiritual, and so forth. And they were talking about the notion of whether you can call yourself a real witch because you did or you didn't have a book of shadows. Never mind the conversations about, you know, you'd be a better witch if you did everything in handwriting. Or, oh no, I don't ever print anything out from the computer. It's kind of weird like that. Times change. Now, I liked that conversation because immediately upon seeing the two sides and the two groups that were conversing with each other and having these conversations about whether it's right or not, or what makes you more of a witch or what doesn't make you more of a witch when it comes to using tools and using a book of shadows, it was immediate for me where I realized that a lot of people in the past, the very early pagans that we base most of our magic, modern magical practices and stuff on, people who were illiterate clearly didn't have books of shadows. They didn't have half the tools. I mean, yes, they were big proponents of sympathetic magic, and that's why sympathetic magic today is as big as and accessible as it is. But for the most part, most people, there was usually one person or a group of people who did most of that stuff with all the tools and the literature. They were known as priests or as monks or shamans or chiefs or whatever, right? For the lay person, just for the regular person, they would go and have these items or get these items from those holy people. Not everybody had access to that stuff, because ultimately, when you look at the objects that you're using as your magical tools for your practice, it is literally stuff. It's stuff. I don't mean that in a callous way or anything like that, but like I said, with the example that I gave earlier, where you have a lot of people who claim to be witches turning around and then saying, oh, you know, we're totally into Buddhism. From a Buddhist point of view, whether it's Zen or any other kind of school, whether it's from the Mahayana schools or the Theravada schools, or whether it's occult practice or whatever, it's taught that you shouldn't attach yourself to things. It's stuff. So going back to the conversations that were being had with the pagans on YouTube 10 plus years ago, some people were totally happy with having a beautiful book of shadows and making it look as gorgeous as they could. I commended that. I thought that was absolutely fabulous. You're releasing and combining your magic and your creativity together. That's great. I was still in the early days of my occult practice back then, so the idea of magic and art being in combination on parallel but also connected to each other was something that was just made sense. It was just factual. They were always going to be intertwined together. So I just thought that was great. But then on the other hand, there were a lot of witches and pagans who were very quick to say, well, actually, we don't actually have physical books of shadows. We have a collection of books. So if we have all of this information on our shelves, why do we then need to have a book of shadows when we're practicing magic? We can just take down the book that we want and go from there. Again, I completely agreed, because at the end of the day, books, just as much as tools, is just stuff. Now, I'm not on TikTok. I don't know what's happening on TikTok. I know that there's drama that always happens on TikTok and whatnot, but this one particular video from my friend really got me going, because on the one hand, I was really happy that she was just expressing herself, but also on the other hand, I was getting kind of annoyed with the fact that she thinks so little of herself, because she's consistently comparing herself to all these 20-something-year-olds on TikTok just having fun. Listen, this isn't just for her, Rebecca, I'm talking to you. This is for everybody else out there as well. Your magic is your own. How you perform, how you utilize magic is entirely unique to you and your experience. If other people want to make it their daily thing, their job, whatever, to go around and criticize or to say things about other people, I think the main thing that came up on TikTok was the fact that apparently like there was a particular witch who was like, oh, people who only have like these really common tools like amethyst, rosemary, white candles, that kind of thing, are really lazy with their craft and their crafting. That's what kind of like spurred everything off. I'm not going to be one of those people who's going to turn around and say to someone, oh, you're a Wiccan. I'm an occultist. I'm up here and you're here. I'm not going to shit on someone because they do things differently to me. Because in my mind, everything and everyone and every experience that I have is a learning experience. So you might be very happy at the very basic stage. You might be very happy being a Wiccan who's very much inside the circle. That's totally fine with me. You'll never venture out. You'll never understand Gnosticism or chaos magic or Thelema or any of that stuff. That doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all. What it does do is make me feel very proud to know you, because you're experiencing something that is unique to you. And I love that. I love that uniqueness that interacting with and using magic can do to someone and their lives. Now, the point that Rebecca had brought up in that video was the fact that a lot of people, unfortunately, find themselves in situations where they can't practice their crafts as openly. I can relate to that. I grew up mostly Christian and Jewish, so my belief systems was something that I had to hide for years. And then years later, into the life that I'm in now, complete 180. I can practice magic where and when I want. I'm married to an occultist. We practice magic together, sometimes apart. I'm living the dream that I set up for myself. And I'm able to access a lot more when it comes to practicing magic. But a lot of people, myself included, found ourselves in situations where we couldn't practice openly or freely. We didn't always have money to go out and buy all of the cool fancy tools that kind of made you who you are. And obviously nowadays, with the real intervention of a lot of people in the younger generations, literally growing up with the internet from the moment that they are born, they have no idea what it's like to live life without the internet for a large chunk of your lives. I'm pretty sure most people had, if it wasn't digital cameras or YouTube shoved into their faces over the last 21 years, then they were definitely brought up with iPads and all that kind of stuff. That's not their fault. It's mostly because, like I said, times change and their parents are just going along with things, and this is what's completely normal for them. Now, like I said, go back to the whole notion of not being able to practice this freely. It's difficult to kind of go through those experiences. It's difficult knowing that you don't have the financial means to be able to practice as much as you want. And it's even worse when you then allow it to affect you psychologically, and it affects your behavior and how you experience the world, to the point where I'm seeing people like Rebecca and other people saying, you know, after years and years, like we've got so many more years of like decades of practice on top of most of these young folks. It's just really disheartening to see how people with a lot of experience still feel the need to belittle themselves so much that they say that even though I've had 30 plus years of experience with witchcraft, I'll never be a seriously good witch unless I get blank, blank, blank. Unless I use blank, blank, blank. I've never been one of those people. I never intend to be one of those people. I think that's why I was able to explore the occult and its various forms in various ways for so long, and why I was able to carve out my own little niche corner within the YouTube pagan community and occult community the way that I did, because I found that I couldn't always have the conversations that I wanted to with other people. But ultimately, it came down to the fact that I was just having conversations with people. I was providing a service, I guess you could say, because a lot of people did learn a lot from my videos way back then. But ultimately, it was just a case of just learning new things. I wanted to learn. I wanted to have conversations. I wanted to open myself up to more knowledge and practice that happened to be out there. And I was able to do that. I wasn't bogging myself down with materialistic things. And neither should you. If you happen to be one of those younger witches who you're still fairly new to the craft, because, I mean, hell, you could be 21 years old, new to the craft, even though you've been practicing since you were 13 or whatever. You're still new to the craft. Everyone's still new to witchcraft. Everyone's still new to magic. There's always so much more to learn. You know, there are scholars in their 50s and their 60s and their 70s who were teaching Western philosophy and esotericism and Eastern esotericism at universities and schools and clubs and covens and groups, you name it. They're still learning. So don't ever think for a moment that you need to apply that pressure to yourself, that you need to learn something as quickly as possible and do it like this. You have your whole life, or however long this phase is going to last for, to practice all of that, to hone all of that. Take your time. Don't rush into things. If you rush into things, you're going to make mistakes. If you rush into things, you're going to end up being so separated from your inner self that your spirituality will end up being stagnant at a later stage. You won't be able to hone something that you can then turn into your actual lifestyle and actually live magic, breathe magic. It's more than just practicing it. Don't belittle yourself. It's the worst thing you could do. That lack of confidence is something, especially if you practice a lot of magic, that lack of confidence can affect the magic that you create. That's why they always say, especially in Wiccan books, not so much occult books, but Wiccan books, pagan books, neo-pagan books, you name it. That's why they always say, when you're about to do some kind of ritual, have a ritual cleanse. Cleanse and consecrate yourself. Have a bath. Chew on the salt if you practice ancient Egyptian paganism. Chew on the salt to make sure that your mouth is also cleansed as well. Sage the area, sage the space. It's not so much about trying to just prepare yourself for the ritual or just making sure that the space is clear. It's a psychological exercise to try and get you to understand that you need to clear your mind, clear heart, clear soul, and then you'll be able to practice the best magic in that moment. It's very simple. Now, like I said, whether it's financial things that are holding you back, whether it's the fact that you can't openly practice your craft, whether it's, there's a ton of reasons why a lot of people can't practice the way that they wish that they could. And I know this is going to sound like a really old thing, and it sounds like an old person saying this and blah, blah, and you've probably heard it from like your elderly family members and whatever, but patience is a virtue. Patience, not hope, not desire, not lust, patience, just pure patience. Take your time. Trees aren't going to grow within a space of a minute just because you've planted one outside. Trees take hundreds of years to get to the width that they get to, the height that they do. Most trees take years to get to the point that they do. So if a tree can continue to be that consistent with its own growth, then why can't you? At the same time, a tree is a very sturdy thing. It has roots that go deep down into the ground and it can sprout new life, but you never know. Sometimes the tree could just develop a horrible disease and then it just starts to rot from the inside. But the tree is still living. It's still going on, and it's going to be a long time before that tree eventually dies. It could take a few years before that tree eventually dies. So again, why apply that pressure to yourself? Why not do what a tree does and stand tall and stand firm? Why not do what a stream does or what a river does? It carves its way out to join the sea. It carves its own way, free of inhibitions, free of obstacles, free of any of that stuff. Why not do that and think that for yourself? Why not think, okay, I might not fit in with these particular groups. And I get it. Loneliness is a big issue. Most people who are writers like myself, we're pretty lonely. People who practice magic, it can be pretty lonely sometimes. Some people are very lucky that they find covens to be able to work with. Others, different to me, can't function unless they're with covens. They don't know how to be on their own. They don't know how to be magicians by themselves. Again, that's totally fine, but you will find your way. You will find your way, you'll be able to hone it, and then you can hopefully start cleansing your mind a lot more. And when you cleanse your mind, it's something as simple as just sitting down and meditating. Using various meditating forms, whether it's aligning your chakras or whatever, to try and find out what exactly is going on and what's wrong or anything along those lines. Just find whatever works for you and stick with it. For those of you who are incredibly experienced with magic, like myself, you've made it this far. Don't get me wrong. There were witches from like the 70s and the 80s and older who got to a point in their practice where they were just consistently lost all the time, and they needed that sort of energizing, I guess you could say, from younger practitioners and to get out there and sort of learn more. But again, that's the whole idea of lifelong learning, but don't demean yourself at the same time. My husband is very much one of those people who a lot of older magicians in the past have always loved his writings and loved his works and stuff. And they found him to be very helpful. What he has to say is very helpful. Bearing in mind that my husband is old enough to be one of their kids. But they don't feel like they need to fit in with anything. They just like having that conversation. Conversation is just a very important thing for a lot of people. Socialization is something that we as humans are very unique at being able to do, whether we choose to or not. But ultimately, magic is a lifelong thing. So don't pressure yourself. If you can't financially get all of the tools, that doesn't stop you from being able to practice magic. You still have your mind. You can still use your finger to cast a circle. Most of the major rituals that I would be able to do, and most of the major rituals that I would like to be able to do, you do those with your mind and your voice and your hands. You don't do them with tools. You don't do a lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram or Liber Resh or the Rosicrucian cross or any of those things with tools. You do them with your hands, your mind, and how well you can vibrate your voice in order to intone certain sounds when sounding out certain words of power. You don't have to decorate the place with amethyst and all this sort of stuff. You don't need to do that. You can just practice with your hands. But again, that's completely fine. If you're one of those people that feels comfortable saying, okay, I'm not a real witch unless I have a chakra flag in the back of my videos or pictures. I'm not a real witch unless I have amethyst everywhere. I'm not a real witch if I don't have this, that, and the other. Then that's fine too. But again, don't pressure yourself into thinking that that's what's going to make you a magician. It's not. You are going to make what makes a magician. The whole idea of practicing magic is the idea of being able to practice magic without too many constraints. Sure, certain things do require certain tools and ingredients, and that's totally fine. You can follow through with those particular practices because that's what's required. But over time, you start to sort of realize that actually with experimentation, you can probably swap out one ingredient for another, perhaps use a different tool because you don't have that one. You can use something alternative instead in order to make the magic a bit more potent. And that's totally fine as well. That's also what's kind of expected as a magical practitioner. But this notion that you're then going to go after other people because they're not financially able, they're not able to do half the things that you're privileged to be able to do, that's wrong. Because then it starts to affect people in a negative way, whether you're an experienced witch, like my friend Rebecca, or whether you're a new person. It can affect those people in a very negative way, and it's affected my friend quite a bit. I've seen it. She might deny it. I don't care. I'm putting an end to it now. But it's just one of those things, especially if you're new. Don't pressure yourself. It's the worst thing you could do. Because like I said, if you pressure yourself, you're going to make mistakes. If you rush, you're going to make mistakes. Believe me, I'm still making those mistakes now. And you learn from them. You learn from them and you're able to then persevere and you're able to pursue your dreams. You're able to open yourself up to knowledge a bit more and open yourself up to practice a lot more. And you might be shocked and surprised that a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, you can say, God, there was that one video from that crazy British black woman that really kind of helped me out. And now I'm, a fully fledged chaos magician, or I'm still a witch, but I'm able to combine my witchcraft and magic with my writing or with my art, or I'm a teacher, but I'm also a druid or whatever. That's what life's about. Just get out there and find things for yourself. Things that you desperately need will come to you when you need them. It's the whole notion of finding a deity, especially within neo-pagan and like Wiccan educational areas of expertise. They do say, take your time, set up your book of shadows, and then let it be known to the cosmos, to the universe, that you're ready to have a patron deity, or you're going to have a patron goddess or a patron god or whatever. And eventually they'll come to you. Now, if you can believe in that, I'm pretty sure it's not that hard to believe in yourself too. And if you have that level of faith, you can then put that faith out into the cosmos and say, only bring me what I need when I need it. And believe me, the universe will always deliver. The universe don't hold back. It will always deliver. So what if you have the world's most popular tarot cards right now? Big deal. So what if you don't? Big deal. That doesn't make you any more or any less of a magician. What does make you less of a magician is your attitude and your behavior to yourself and how you treat other people. Big no-no. that's just my opinion. This video is way too long. I'm just gonna let you guys go. I had a whole different video planned. I was gonna do like a little vlog thing and then do like a Q&A. So if you guys wanna get involved with the Q&A, that's totally fine. Just put questions down below or tweet me or whatever. More details will be in the description box. I can't bother to talk now. But it's just something that I've noticed a lot. And I don't know. I'm old school. I'm just different, I guess. I'm old school. I do things differently. I see things differently. With the amount of experience I've had within religion and spirituality my entire life, has allowed me to just look at different situations from different angles, inside the box and outside the box. And I know what's healthy and I know what isn't healthy. Mental health is a very important aspect of magic for me. So I kind of want it to be an aspect for you guys too. Just don't pressure yourself. Be good, be kind, and you'll be fine. Just put that help out there into the universe. The universe is always going to be there. Magic is always there. It's always going to hear you and interact with you. And you, for the most part, you don't really need to try that hard to get the attention of the universe. It will be getting your attention in some way or another. So like, just live the magical life. But this is just my opinion. Don't take my word for absolutely everything. This is just based off of life experience. My experiences are completely different to other people, and I also live a very different life now where I'm living the dream life, the dream magical life, as I said. And I'm more of an occultist more than just a regular pagan. I do a lot more when it comes to magic. But it is what it is. Just go with the flow. Go with the flow. That's the whole point of magic, isn't it? Just go with the flow, find the flow, tap into the flow, utilize the flow, go with the flow. Just go with the flow. You'll be fine. Anyway, Emotep, and I'll see you guys again real soon.
What we found in your room justified all our fears. How long have you been reading these horrid books?
That old black magic has
That's right.
that old black magic
Close your eyes.
The door opened, as though being pulled by some unknown force.